So good afternoon. So we can see the topic New Historicism in Literary Criticism. We can start with the definition. New Historicism is a literary theory and it was introduced in 1980s by Stephen Greenblatt, and he is called the father of New Historicism. It challenges the traditional historicism. What we mean by historicism? Because the argument is put forth by the new historicists. New historicists, history is not a fixed one. It's not a fixed objective reality. It is not permanent. We can't say it is permanent. It is doesn't change. It is fixed. It is subjective. Because it is subjective. And why do we call it subjective? Because the same historical event is presented differently by different historians, and so objectivity is lacking. So the facts are provided, the facts of the same historical event are provided by different historicists based on his perspectives and experiences, based on the influence of the social background on him. The new historicist studies a literary text. When he studies the literary text, he makes a comparative study between a literary text and a non-literary text in order to bring out the interconnectedness of historical and literary texts. So he wants to find out the link between, interconnectedness, connection between the historical text refers to non-literary text. And so non-literary text can be compared with the literary text. So we can see the characteristics of new historicism. First one is intertextuality. Literature can be analyzed by comparing and contrasting the literary text with the non-literary text. And a few examples are given for non-literary text. Number one is historical documents and legal texts, letters, and other cultural artifacts. Legal texts are the works on the legal system or the laws prevailing in the age, and letters might be about the personal letters and other letters that are on the society and the important incidents of the age. And such letters also can be taken as a non-literary text for comparative study. And other cultural artifacts are any piece of writing. On music, it can be on music, it can be on dance, it can be on architecture, it can be on it is anything. And so these come under non-literary texts, and they can be taken for the comparative study with the literary text. Next one is subjectivity of history. History is not viewed as an objective account of events. Already we have seen it, because it varies according to the experience of the historian. And it also is a narrative. It can be called a narrative, as the literary text is a narrative, because it also is influenced by the cultural, social, and political ideologies of the age, the social background of the age. And then next we can see the focus on power and ideology. New historicists are influenced by Michel Foucault. And so he is, and according to Michel Foucault, the dominant power structures can be accepted when they are accepted and when they are obeyed. When they exist, the hierarchy is accepted and followed. The critics they are reinforced by the writer in the work. The power structure is reinforced in the literary text or in the non-literary text also. And when they lose their authority, when the power structures lose their authority and when they lose their hold on the people, they are subverted, they are thrown away, they are overthrown. The same power structures are overthrown when they lose their hold upon the society, upon the people. So that also can be found in the literary text or in the non-literary text that can be identified by the critic. Next one is cultural contextualization. The new historicists study the text against the background of cultural, social, political, and even religious and economic environments, because in which these texts have been produced. So this is what is called a cultural contextualization. So it can be studied placing it in the cultural context of the age. Next one is reflexivity. The critics are also not only the historians or the writers of literary texts or the writers of non-literary texts, the critics who examine these works, who compare these works, are also shaped by or influenced by their own historical background, the historical background of their own age, and they are under the influence of this background, this cultural background or social background, and they are influenced by this cultural background and social background. So this can be found in their interpretation of the literary text as well as non-literary text. And next one is rejection of authorial intent. So it is seen in a biographical criticism, the author's intention plays a very important role in interpreting the text by the critic. But here it is not so. The meaning of the text or the interpretation of the text is not solely or fully based on the author's intentions. Author's intentions can be taken, can be considered while the work is criticized by the new historicists. But it is not the only one on which the criticism can be based. So, it takes its form from the cultural and historical moment of the text production, from the production of the text. So that is very important. The cultural and historical moments are very important when the critic interprets the work. We can see the foreigners, the very important personalities who have made a great contribution to new historicism. Michel Foucault. So his views on new historicism as a discourse can be found in his work titled Discipline and Punish, The Birth of the Prison, which was published in 1975. And it is he gives his views on power and knowledge. And this his views, the views of Michel Foucault, deeply influenced new historicism. Next one is Stephen Greenblatt, and he is the founder and the father of new historicism. And he has has given his ideology on new historicism in his work titled Renaissance Self-Fashioning, from Moore to Shakespeare, and which was published in 1980. So now we can see a few examples to which new historicism can be applied for criticism. Shakespeare's The Tempest, because The Tempest echoes the colonial and imperial ideologies of the Renaissance, because we can see it in the character, the protagonist of the play, Prospero, and he emerges as the leader of the island, and he overrules all the inmates and all the people. Not only people, there are the Caliban, no, he is a half human and a half animal, and he brings him under his control. And so it echoes the colonial and imperial ideology of the Renaissance. So new historicism can be applied to it, and it can be compared with any other non-literary text based on colonial and imperial ideologies of the age of Renaissance, of the 16th century. Next one is, we can take the work of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It also can be studied in the context of industrial revolution and the 19th century scientific anxieties. And so this can be found, industrial revolution and the 19th century scientific anxieties can be found in non-literary texts. It can be in a scientific work, a piece of writing on science, or it can be in political writing or a historical writing. So such a non-literary text can be compared with the literary work created by Mary Shelley titled Frankenstein. So we can see the limitations. More emphasis is laid on history in New Historicism, and the critics forgo and overlook the aesthetic elements and the formal qualities of the text. Formal qualities refers to the structural elements of the text and the aesthetic element of the text. They are overlooked. Next one is lack of objectivity. So history is seen as a subjective one, subjective construction. It's a narrative because the influence of the age can be found in the historical accounts provided by the historians. So it lacks objectivity. So it becomes relativistic because it is the influence of the age can be found in the historical account. It is not factual. It is a merely narrative. Next one, now we find a difficulty in separating text from the context because for interpreting the text, it has to be placed against the context of the age. So the main focus is on intertextuality, and because of that, the unique qualities of a literary work, unique artistic qualities of literary work, are not understood or brought to the limelight. They are not discussed. The artistic elements are not discussed. The due importance is not given to the unique artistic elements of a work. So it can come under limitation. Next one is political bias. The critics are influenced by the political background. And so because of the political bias, they may overlook they may overlook the intention of the writer. So they make it subjective. So because new historicist reading is influenced by the modern ideological concerns sometimes. Because the critic is influenced by the modern ideologies, political ideology, social ideology, or cultural ideology. And so, to interpret the text written in the previous age, he may use the modern ideology, which may have nothing to do with the literary text or the non-literary text of some other age.